Okay, so let's talk about a couple more strategies for making sleep a priority. Okay. And honestly, we could probably do an entire session on sleep. Like there's so much about it. There's so much research. There's yeah, but we won't do that right now. I want to simply say to you and hope you will believe me, this is very important. Neon signs, very important. Prioritize sleep. So how do we do that? I think one of the things Greg touched on real quickly here is the reason why something as simple as going outside when the sun comes up is that helps to set your circadian rhythm. Paying attention to our own circadian rhythms is important. Now, they're all going to be different depending on the time zones we live in. So sometimes giving like an actual time is not helpful because it's more about the rhythm, and the rhythm is going to be affected by what part of the world you live in. When we lived in Costa Rica, it was literally like 5 a.m. to 5 p.m. is when we got up and went to sleep all year round. It was 5 a.m., 5 p.m. And that's because that's how consistent the sun is in that part of the world. Now we live in Portugal and the sun goes down here at 6:30, but during the summertime, it's out till like 9:30, right?
When we lived in Alaska,
yeah,
the sun
was up till 3 a.m.
And then the winter, we got like 2 hours.
So it's more about the circadian rhythm than it is about specific times, right? So pay attention to your circadian rhythms and notice the things that can also interrupt your circadian rhythms. Screens, even lights on at night. That we've been developing this habit of having only lamplight on at night. So when it gets dark, we don't turn on the overhead lights, we just turn on lamps because that helps to keep your rhythm and it helps to produce melatonin. So people start to get tired and then they want to go to bed because they're feeling sleepy rather than like flashing lights and screens and all this. And we're like wired till midnight, right? Having an inconsistent bedtime. Now, sometimes it's fun to stay up and that's great, right? It's fun to stay up together. But for the most part, we want to have a similarly consistent bedtime. And we're not talking a strict, you must go to bed at this time, but it's just like you have this routine, you have this rhythm of going to bed around the same time. So your body feels tired every night around the same time. Because if we
can I chime in on that? I'm going to throw something out here just for you guys to chew on. We've never done bedtimes, and we've never woken up our kids. Now, some of you are going to hear that and be like,
except when we fly and we have to catch a flight.
We do that. What we've done is we taught our children to be self-aware. We help them get tired. We help them get into a sleep routine where they start feeling drowsy and they want to go to bed, and then they go to bed around the same time. But I just have never met a human being who all of a sudden is exactly tired at 8 p.m. on the dot. Like, wait, what? Like, never. And especially children. Like, sometimes they're exhausted at 6:30. Sometimes they're wired until 9:30. Like, and so they go to bed when they're tired, and then we don't wake up our kids. But you can
facilitate the tiredness through what I'm going to talk about in a second, some of these sleep anchors.
And then we often wake them up. We're interrupting a sleep cycle. So they're in this sleep cycle and they're in deep sleep. It's wonderful. And we go in and time to get up, kids, because what? XYZ. We have a tight schedule here. We run a tight ship. And so we bust them right out of a sleep cycle, out of their circadian rhythm, out of like this deep sleep they're going through. And then we're like, why are they grumpy? Why are they upset? Why are they frustrated? Why aren't they thinking well? Why aren't they making good decisions? Why are they fighting with their siblings? Well, that's why.
That is one of the reasons why we do not wake up to alarms and we don't wake our kids up, because every human being goes through 90-minute sleep cycles. And so you'll go through a 90-minute one, you'll come to almost a state of wakefulness, and then you go back into another 90-minute cycle. If you wake someone up in the middle of that cycle, then yes, they're going to be way more drowsier, way more irritable, way more grumpy, like all of those things, because they didn't complete that 90-minute cycle. That's why it's better to let them ideally wake up on their own. Now, of course, that's not 100% possible all the time, but it's important to understand those things because it helps us to have more foundational understanding of what's going on behind the scenes about why all of these things are happening, why there's a bad behavior. Sometimes I'm like, oh, you got woken up this morning. No wonder you're more grumpy, right? I take all of that into consideration when I am interacting with my family. Okay, so as we're helping ourselves and our kids get better sleep, one of the most important things that we have done is to create, look at a comment over here, create sleep routines, evening routines, sleep anchors, you can call them. It's just simply these ways of helping ourselves and our children, well, helping our bodies be signaled that, hey, get ready for sleep, prepare for sleep, right? And that can be something, well, like no screens, let's say. You pick the time. It's 1 hour, it's 2 hours before bedtime. Just no screens, right? We just turn it all off. There's just no screens allowed. Like I already mentioned, just dimming the lights or having only lamps on. We have some German friends that here at our resort, we call it, we have an apartment that we rented out to a German family. In the evenings, they pretty much only have these Himalayan lamps on. They're like the big salt lamps, and they have that really nice, warm, pinkish glow. Like that's all they have on at night. And it's just very calming to the whole system, right? So things like that. I used to have one of those nightlights in my kids' room. And so I like Greg said, we didn't have a bedtime, but we did have a time with our younger kids. We're like, okay, well, now you need to go to your room. You can stay up, but you have to have this lamp on, and you can only do, of course, non-screen activities, right? Non-stimulating activities. You can read a book. You can play quietly with quiet toys, you know?
You can draw.
But that right there makes them feel tired, right? Because they're sitting in this room that's mostly dark, playing quietly, and that's going to make them tired. So then they fall asleep. Having different wind down rituals. Maybe it's a cup of tea or a bedtime snack or, you know, getting on your PJs and then reading a book together, whatever it is. It's like creating these evening rituals that give you the hygge feeling, right? There's the Scandinavian word where they talk about hygge. It's just that cozy, warm feeling. Like that's what you want to create around bedtime. So your kids are like, ooh, yes, bedtime. I love bedtime.
One thing I had to really emphasize here, what we're doing from a young age is we're teaching our kids to be self-led. So by the time they leave our homes, they go off to university or mission or life or whatever, military, they already like, oh, I've been doing this for years.
Yes.
When I get tired, I go to bed. Instead of what's
these
happening.
routines in the evening that I'm used to
I
doing.
know how to govern myself. What's happening now is mom and dad tell the kids what to do as soon as they leave the house. The kids chronically across all the universities in the US, 3 a.m. bedtimes. They are wrecking their brains and their bodies.
Which, again, we have young adults and they will go out and have an experience and they'll do that for a short period of time, but they know and they recognize how it makes them feel, and they don't, it's not a chronic thing, right? That's what we're trying to teach them, is that short term, it's fun and fine to do those things. But if it becomes a long-term habit that's happening every single night, that's when it becomes detrimental. And that's the most important thing, is that they learn these principles. And so then they are making their own decisions and they're saying, okay, I did it for that short period of time. I'm returning to my routines because I know how much better I feel. I know how important they are. But what Greg's really saying here that we want to emphasize is that when we allow our children, when we create the environment, but then allow our kids to make the choices, the individual choices about whether or not they're going to sleep this second, or if they're going to stay up and read a non-stimulating book, or they're going to do this. They are the ones that are actually making the decisions. They're practicing that decision making. They're noticing how it feels. They're recognizing what's happening. They're creating awareness. That's the power tool that helps them become adults and to then make good decisions as they go into their adult life, right? That's the extra little habit of a successful life there that they're developing as we model these things for them and then create the routines and habits for them and then help them, allow them to experience for themselves so they know what it's like. We've had our young adults go out. We now have our 4 oldest children are 18 and above. The oldest is going to be 24. They know from experience what it's like to eat healthy, what it's like to sleep well, what it's like to have good habits. They've recognized having lived it and then having experimented with the other, and they see, wow, this is actually what I want. And more often, I'm going to choose these things on my own because I know the benefits. I've lived the benefits. That's ultimately what we want for our kids.